in more recent times, although it's a number of years ago now, you had your famous fallout with Celtic. You were banished. And I remember the two of us up in Byres Road in the Chip one night, holding our sides with laughter over it and what happened. What happened again? Finbar, who? What was it all about?
Yeah, it was at that period where John Barnes had been an incorrect appointment. He's a lovely man, but it simply wasn't right for the time, wasn't right for the job that needed to be done. And Kenny Dalglish, who had appointed him, took over as interim manager. They then held the infamous press conference in a pub, and I had been critical of the team and critical of having press conferences in pubs. Nothing against pubs, because you and I have shared a drink in many of them, but for me, a club of Celtic size ought not to be pandering to people by having press conferences in pubs. It's patronising. So they then had the next press conference in the Celtic Social Club in London Road. I went in the company of several others and was approached by a man, one Finbar O'Brannigan. And he told me that I had to leave. I didn't put up too much of a fight because Mr. O'Brannigan looked as if could be a bit lively in that department. But I always remember one of our mutual colleagues, Ian McGarry, who was then on the Daily Mail. I always remember him saying to Finbar, "You do realise you're going to make him famous?" And he got short shrift back in reply. And I stood outside and I called the Sunday Mail and said, I've been thrown out. And they said, stand there till we get a photographer. And I thought, I'm not really sure if I should stand here for that length of time, but I did. But so he and I fell out badly. The worst part of that was there was a Sunday paper diarist who the following week said that the photograph showed that I was in fact quite clapped out looking. So I remember your words, Graham. I have carried them with me for decades. So there I was, clapped out, holding on to my notebook. Kenny and I, again, I'll say this: Kenny Dalglish, top 3 greatest Celtic players of all time. You can put anybody else you like in there, Henrik Larsson, Jimmy Johnson. Personal estimation, Kenny Dalglish, top 3 Celtic players of all time. But he was wrong for the post that he was in as director of football, or whatever you want to call it, and he did nothing to halt the decline of the team when he was interim manager. And I believe, as I'm sure you believe, that we are in this business if for no other reason than to offer an opinion. My opinion got me thrown out. And I always remember I went to Dens Park, Celtic were playing at Dens Park, and I heard for the first time my name chanted by a football crowd. And it was that infamous chant, "Hugh Keevins, you're a..." And I'll let you put in the offending word thereafter, but
yeah, I was there that day. I remember it.
Yeah, and it was a great laugh for everyone because everyone knew that I came from a Celtic family. So again, I have to reserve the right to speak as I find, and I didn't think that Celtic were going in the right direction at that time, and said so, and get banned as a consequence.
Hugh, you mentioned Kenny there, Kenny Dalglish. This is an intriguing point. There is a theory you often hear doing the rounds among reporters and our colleagues. The theory being that Kenny is not quite the lovable creature of popular myth. Is this true?
I dare say that he had good friends within the media. I was not one of them. I don't go out of my way to fall out with people. It's a hazard of our occupation. So for whatever reason, nothing I could do ever pleased Kenny, and he really had no time for me. So that's all right. I'm very, very happy that he's still going great guns, that his health is good after one or two scares, and that Liverpool have won their first title for 30 years. I'm very happy. I bear no man any ill will, but for whatever reason, he and I did not connect. I mean, there were other examples. Billy McNeil, I don't tell lies. Billy McNeil was my boyhood hero as a football player. I felt privileged to be in his company. Tommy Burns, likewise. Over at Rangers, John Gregg, people like Sandy Jardine. I was Sandy Jardine's ghostwriter at one point. I bear no man any ill will, but Kenny Dalglish and me, it just never happened.